morning, everybody. It is basketball jam. We weren't even scheduled to do this, but the NBA games are so damn compelling. You can't turn them off. Andy, good morning. Andy Isco's joining me. I'm Jim Feist here in Las Vegas for the basketball jam, May 6th, 2025. This is crazy. All the top teams have lost their home court advantage. The Cavs go down. The Celtics go down. And last night, OKC goes down. I mean, these obviously, if you're a road dog player, better handicap or whatever, you're making money and you're having a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Jim. I mean, and we're seeing some huge comebacks as well in some of these. I mean, the Knicks were down by 20 in the second half. It looked like that game was going to be just pretty much what was the final margin going to be, and were the Celtics going to be able to cover and win by double digits, and then the Knicks come back. And that was after Indiana was pretty much in control the entire game against Cleveland. We talked about it yesterday. They were resilient after Cleveland came back late in the fourth quarter to tie it, and Indiana then just dominated the last 2 to 3 minutes of that game. And then, of course, the late game last night, which looked as though, again, it was going to be an easy win for Oklahoma City on their home court. And so what have we got? We've got the three best teams in the NBA according to seedings and rankings and win-loss records, according to records. Oklahoma City, Cleveland, Boston, all going down at home. It's something we usually don't see in the NBA. When you talk about number one seeds having success or having struggles against number 8 seeds, you're usually talking the NHL, where it's much more, not that it's frequent, but it occurs with a little bit more regularity than the 8s beating the 1s. And in fact, as we texted last night, looking at the money lines on Indiana, representative money lines to win the games, plus 320 on the Pacers on Sunday, plus 360 on the Knicks, plus 315 on the Nuggets last night. If you put a $100 wager down on those three on the money line before the start of the Indiana-Cleveland game, and you had the other two in there as well for Monday, you got about an $8,000 payoff for your $100.
$8,000 for $100.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable. I mean, all these lines have been big. 8, 9,
yeah,
10 points.
That's the surprising part. And the games,
oh,
and two of the three games.
Oh, by the way, we still have one more to go. We got Golden State playing in Minnesota. Minnesota's another home court advantage. They can do the same thing. I mean, this is.
If you had told me before the start of the Indiana-Cleveland game in the second round series, one of the 4 road teams was going to pull an upset, I would have said Golden State. Even though they're tired, their experience would suggest that they had the better chance. Maybe Indiana second because they did play well against Cleveland, but I would have thought that Golden State would be the one more likely. And, of course, that is the smallest of the 4 lines. I think that's about a 7-point line, 6.5, 7-point line. And now it may end up being that Golden State may be the only road team not to win the opening game of their series.
Very, very likely it'll be the one that you didn't think had a,
by the way,
in Minnesota. But
the books have to love this when something like that hits, and I don't know if anyone will publicize about what that payoff is, because that means a lot of people will now start looking to play the road teams, and the books love those big. They may have lost on anyone who played this parlay, but you can be sure that other people will start to say maybe there's something to that. And the books
as far as somebody publicizing, and Andy, you just did. We're Proline TV on YouTube, and everybody go there each and every day, like and subscribe. The channel is awesome. We just had the Kentucky Derby winner. We had the NCAA winner, and we're picking winners. And now you and I know everybody knows that I like the Wolves tonight in this game. Now, we're going to come back with all these 3 teams that won on the road. Indiana, last night Denver, and then they're going to come, and then we're going to have all these 3 road teams come back, still playing on the road. And then you're going to have to say, well, these home teams they're going to have big lines because they've lost the first game, and everybody knows they can't possibly lose game 2. Well, yeah, they can possibly lose 2 in a row at home because these teams are competitive. When you look at it throughout the season, a lot of times you're not getting true value and measurement with the NBA because they do play the load management. They do play back-to-backs, and they're not always motivated to play their best. That is the truth. I mean, they have that play-in series during the middle of the year, and they get the money games, and they play hard then. but during the regular season, they're almost like in some way, and I'm not trying to be too critical here, in some way, they're like preseason games because they get to the playoffs and then they can turn it on. Well, that's what we're seeing now. So are these home teams, are they an absolute guaranteed lock to win their games at home?
Not really, and again, you make a good point that a lot of and we've heard many coaches and many players and many organizations say all you want to do is make the postseason, and then anything can happen. And I think because the talent level in the NBA overall, league wide, is as great as it's ever been, many more teams now have greater depth than they've had in the past. They don't have just one or two outstanding players. They have a roster of players who could start on many of the teams in the league, and so the talent is leveled out, and it comes down sometimes to experience. And to your point, as far as what we've seen in the lines, well, Indiana pulled that upset, and Cleveland, I think, in that first game was about a 9-point favorite or an 8-point favorite. Well, they're a 9-point favorite in this game, so not a great surprise. Of course, the Minnesota Golden State hasn't been played, but the Knicks, Boston, opened a 9.5-point favorite in tomorrow night's game. They're already up to 10 in many places. 10.5, I'm showing up there in one place. Right. And even Denver, Oklahoma City, after Oklahoma City was about a 9.5, 10-point favorite yesterday and lost, they opened 10.5. I see them now at 11 and 11.5. So the at least the early action comes in, and I don't know if it's sharp or squares trying to get in at the early number and try and get their money back from the last 2 nights. But it's surprising to see that the lines, which opened a little bit higher, and you would expect that you might normally see an adjustment when the favorite team loses, especially the opening game at home. But that's usually when the lines are a little bit more competitive. You know, game one lines might be 3.5 or 4 or 4.5, and then you'll open it at 5. But to see a team that was favored by 9 or 10 open at slightly higher than that in game two just because of one loss, that seems like, I don't know if it's an overreaction. Nothing says that Indiana won't be able to repeat what they did in game one against Cleveland, or certainly give a competitive effort in a loss, just like you might expect the Knicks and certainly Denver to be competitive in game two, even after winning game one, that they're still getting, they can lose this game by 8 points, get the cover. And Oklahoma City, in that case, if we're talking Denver, gets the straight up win, which is all the teams are concerned about.
Well, Andy, you hit the right nail on the head here. We've got a lot of media bias. Everybody always talked all year long. The 3 best teams are the Cavaliers, Oklahoma City, and Boston. Well, That's media bias. That's the media talking. Now, if you're going to go, let's call that false news, because these other 3 teams that are playing them on the road are all good teams. I mean, you got Jokic and Westbrook has come out of nowhere. All of a sudden he can play. I mean, yes, he misses a lot of shots, but he has got a lot of energy. The Knicks you got Brunson, who's Mr. Clutch, and you got Golden State. We haven't seen what they're going to do here yet. They are the older team and the smaller team. They have matchup problems down low against Minnesota. Like Minnesota took advantage of the Lakers, that could happen here. Indiana, that's a good basketball team. And if you look at them from January or February on, they're as good as anybody. I mean,
they had the third or fourth best record in the league since that time.
I'm sorry?
I think Indiana had the third or fourth best record in the league since the start of January.
Exactly. And that's where people, they start in November, start playing, but those games back in November, December don't matter anymore. We're in March and April and May, and now we're down to who these teams are and the coaching, gelling, and everything else. I mean, even Denver, look at that. They fired their coach. They got a new coach. And you just can't discount these guys. I think these numbers are, yes, and I know, and a lot of the bettors out there know about the zigzag theory. You bet on the team that lost the previous game to cover the next game. However, you're not always laying 10, 11, 12 points.
Exactly. I don't have the numbers. I'm sure Mark probably does in his database. Mark Lawrence, of course, who do the Wednesday ATS show with. I have to believe it's unprecedented to see 3 of the 4. These are now the conference semifinal games, round 2, that there have ever been under the current format. 3 double-digit favorites out of the 4 first round games, 4 first games and now the second games in a when the field is down to 8.
And what you have is Denver's up 1-0, Knicks are up 1-0. Indiana is up 1-0, and they're all getting double digits. That's nuts. From
The
a
one that
perspective and
surprised me,
a value perspective, that's ridiculous. You just
absolutely.
you can't give that many points to these good teams.
The one that surprised me, and the one that I wouldn't be surprised if a double digit is the Knicks, simply because, as you talked about yesterday, the history going back several seasons of the Knicks having difficulty against the Boston Celtics. I was surprised but not shocked that Indiana beat Cleveland. They've been competitive this year. They beat them on the last day of the regular season, even though the game meant nothing. They went to double overtime. So when you go to double overtime in a meaningless game, when you're getting ready for the playoffs, it shows that both teams are talented and both teams are playing. Because if you're really not looking at it, you say, you know what, if I make the shot, we go to overtime. A game means nothing. I want to go home, something like that. But these guys are competitive. And if Denver had beaten Oklahoma City last night like they did, I wouldn't have been shocked, maybe a little bit surprised. But the one that really surprised me was the Knicks, especially the way that they came back in that fourth quarter. They did to Boston what they did to Detroit in the opening game of the first series.
That's right. And Jalen Brunson is, I still am baffled at the Dallas Mavericks that had Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic on the same team, and now they have neither one. That's neither.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get it. That's another subject. The other thing is, and I can get into this. I can do a tirade on this. They are not playing basketball the way basketball should be played. And talking about Boston, 45 missed three-point shots in one game. I mean, they had a game earlier where they shot 61 from a distance. This is not basketball. They're not running plays. They're just circle, just everybody playing outside. There's nothing underneath. This is not good basketball. Okay, the most fickle stat in basketball is the three-point shot. Yeah, it's a harder shot. You get 3 points for it instead of 2. Obviously, it's rewarded. So they think percentage-wise this is the right thing to do. It is not good basketball. The entire inside, the 2-point area, around the basket is open. And you can run plays. You can get twos. You can get fouls. This is not good basketball. So when they miss 45 shots from three-point range the other night, it is ridiculous. And at the end, when there's a last shot coming, what do? Tatum's outside 30 feet away shooting the three. Why not run a play under the bucket? All you need is 2. You don't need the 3. I mean, it's just bad coaching, bad basketball. The game is being ruined by the 3. This is my tirade. It's being ruined by the three-point shot. It's not good basketball. The teams that play well both ways, from range and inside, and run the plays are the best teams. Who are those guys? I kind of think when you look at
Boston is.
But
we thought Boston was one of those teams that should be playing that way, but they are the exception there, because they're the ones that are throwing up all the three pointers. Interesting with Boston is they had a much better record on the road than they did at him. And just to comment on that a little bit, Jim, there is a solution, but I don't know that the NBA would consider the solution, because I guess the NBA probably does some sort of surveying. And what does the public think about the three-point shot? If they like the three-point shot, they can't do anything. If the public starts to sort of say this, like you and I think this is not the way basketball is supposed to be played, the solution is you move the three-point shot out a little bit, move it out a foot, 18 inches or something. You won't see those kind of percentages, and you won't see teams taking it. But when you're talking about a 3-foot difference between a middle jumper and a three-point shot, most teams are going to go for the three-pointer. So if you make it more difficult, it would probably reduce the number of attempts. But then again, that may not be as appealing to the fans who the NBA is trying to attract, especially the younger fans who are much more interested in things like MMA this day and pickleball and things like that than the 4 major sports that we grew up with.
There is one other way. A couple of years ago in football, and I know we're running out of time because we weren't even doing this show today because it's so compelling. We decided to do it. This is actually going to be followed by a baseball show as well. But in football, a couple of years ago, they said the running backs are meaningless. Don't even draft them. Don't pay them. Don't do nothing. Now, what you see is if you have a good running game, a good offensive line, you're going to win championships. Look what Philadelphia did to Kansas City. The pendulum swings. What's going to happen here is the team that wins this championship this year is the team that's going to be capable of winning from outside and inside. And I'm going to tell you something. This is no joke. The one team that plays better in that way is because their center is actually their point guard, and that's Denver. Because this is the biggest point guard in the entire world, bringing up the ball and shooting outside, and then he passes off of that and sets up everybody else. They play better internally as well as shooting from outside at distance as well. Not perfect. They're not the best team per se or best talented team per se, but they do play a little bit more old school than what we're seeing from a team like the Celtics. And I'm not taking away from the Celtics' talent. It is there. When you have Holiday and Smith and Tatum and Brown and all those guys, I mean, they are talented. They have it. But they're playing a style that could be self-destructive because the three-point shot is the most fickle stat in basketball. If you're not hitting them, you're dead. And that's what's happening. So we might see a resurgence of a little bit more old school if teams, and I got to say that OKC plays a little bit better. The West teams to me look better than the East anyhow. Now, I don't know what Cleveland's going to look like if they get Garland back because he was missing in the first game.
And they had a couple of more players who are questionable for tonight's game too. As well.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Cleveland, I'll call it up on the screen. Cleveland also has a couple players who they think they may not be without tonight, in addition to Garland, although he's still listed, I believe, as questionable. Let me see if I can call it up here on the screen very quickly because I did see that come through as last night. I saw who is it? Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter, two key players, are both listed as questionable. Mobley with the ankle, Hunter with the thumb, and their absence. Well, we already saw what Garland's absence. He's missed a couple of games prior to game one as well. 20 points per game, almost 7 assists. We talked about that yesterday. If Mobley and Hunter are out, Indiana can take a 2-0 lead going home.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Indiana is for real. I mean, they're not. And if you, like we talked about, if you look at their record from January, February on, they're as good as anybody. So that is a real danger for the Cavaliers. And this is compelling stuff. I mean, the NBA during the regular season is not my favorite sport. I hate all the load management and the resting of players and all that. I hate all that. I like the intensity, what you see in the playoffs. Maybe they need to shorten the season and get these guys to play a little bit more during the regular season. But anyway, right now, I'm enjoying this stuff. And we're picking winners, making money. This is Proline TV. We're on YouTube. This is Andy Iskoe. I'm Jim Feist for Basketball Jam. Don't forget, go to YouTube, go to Proline TV, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. And Andy, anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I think you said it all. I mean, this right now is, it was a compelling first round series. It seems like the Lakers going down surprisingly in 5 games, and the start of the second round is even more compelling. And Game 2 will tell us a lot tonight about Pacers and Cleveland, and we'll see what happens with Golden State and Minnesota, because Golden State is another team that has to rely a little bit more on the threes because of their lack of depth inside.
That is true. The one thing that I'm just going to add this really quickly, Minnesota's big and they play hard and they're very talented. And they took advantage of the Lakers because the Lakers had nothing down deep. And of course, Luka is a little bit banged up and stuff. And, LeBron's older, but Golden State has a problem down low. They don't have a big guy that can rim protector, somebody that can really, that Minnesota can take advantage of that. And that may be the one team that actually can hold their home court advantage. Maybe.
Well, right now they're the only team that has the possibility of doing so.
I guess
the higher seeds.
Yeah. Very good. Good point. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.